Haseeba. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dr. Musa?
I'm good too. So thanks for joining us. And I know it's very difficult at this time to join, but so glad that you made it. And yeah, so we will start with your formal introduction, and then you can continue with your conversation.
Sure. Thank you so much, firstly, for having me on this show. And it's a privilege, especially talking on this platform and being able to share about women empowerment. Well, about me, I was born and raised in Middle East, born in Saudi and grew up in UAE. So the UAE has basically been home. But of course, Pakistan, my ancestral home is Pakistan, and Pakistan is Pakistan is part of me. By education, I am an HR qualified and an MSc in occupational psychology from UK. Well, I would like to add on this one, it's this stage that when I went to the UK, I went alone, and it was itself, I belong to a very well-educated family, but no woman in our family would actually travel alone and study abroad. So I was the first one, a resilient one, who actually managed, with great support of my father, who wanted me to achieve my dreams and live up to my whatever goals I had in my life. I've had the privilege of working with different industries, from IT, education, and pharmaceuticals as a transition analyst, as well as some time of management consultant. So now this is a very sensitive topic that I'm coming to. This is part of my introduction as well as it will moving forward. I was victim of domestic violence when I got married in 2017. Imagine a very well aspiring, a very well qualified, with a professional background, being married off to, again, a very educated, well professional man, and a completely arranged marriage. And we moved to the UK, and no one, of course, expects that such things would happen. And never in my life I thought I would. So I had 2 years of very toxic and every single day of domestic violence. So by the time by the beginning of 2019, when it was an attempt when he was almost on the verge of being killed, I decided that it was time that there needs to be a decision. By then I was completely fallen to the ground, like my personality was shattered. I was being told that I'm incompetent. Most of my emotions had gone numb. So I decided one fine early morning that's it. It's time to quit and walk out of the house. And I was alone over there in the UK. And while my parents were back in the Middle East, I walked out broken, and it was a long story where I can go on and on, but I wouldn't. My focus is about women empowerment, so this is where it comes. It's been a journey of healing, and being on a healing of journey, I came across such inspiring, such amazing, supportive women. But the best thing that happened is that my parents, rather than going to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, I was provided to go meet a life coach. Interestingly, this life coach was in my master's MSc, was my classmate. And I was the only Asian woman, Pakistani, and hijabi in my MSc. So I was obviously well known and well respected. And he, well, obviously with a similar impression, he welcomed me. And that morning, I can never forget that I had no idea what I would say and what I would do. And by then it was like I had no home, I had no job, I had no money as such of my own. So, but of course, alhamdulillah, I had great support of my family. They were trying, but obviously being the difference of continents and how, they were trying their level best to be there. And so when right from day one, when I realized that the change in me after the first session, I understood how powerful life coaching is and the techniques. So now coming towards the woman empowerment, especially this topic it's very important to talk about. That as a Pakistani, I believe that especially those who are overseas Pakistanis, we are ambassadors of and representative of our company, of our nation. And our nation is full of people who there's great potential. There's great potential of creativity, thoughts, humor, and lots of love. But unfortunately, there is a negative image of that the world sees of poverty and destruction. And as well, sadly, there is a rising issue of domestic violence. Though domestic violence is a global issue, however, being a developing country and especially being a Muslim country where women are by Islam are allowed and given equal rights as men and are supposed to be respected in every aspect. So we become more highlighted, and especially during the COVID-19, the statistics have become so worrying that 23%, according to the UN statistics, that there was 23% increase of reported cases in Pakistan. I wouldn't go further on how much there is, and of course there is great increase in UK, France. Like France has reported 40%. It's worrying some. But talking about Pakistan, where it has been ranked as 130th in the Gender Gap Index, we as a nation, where there's so much happening, like their foundations of Kashaf Foundation or Aurat Foundation, there has been an effort. There is rise. There is certainly good things that are happening for women empowerment. There was in 1973, a constitution was made for women, especially, where it says that there is fundamental rights are to be given to all citizens without discrimination. It is there, but again, we are living in 2021, and we are struggling with the rising. It's a silent pandemic. It's a pandemic that needs to be flattened. It's a curve that needs to be flattened. So we consist of 48.54% of female population of Pakistan. And women, imagine a country that will empower and actually get the focus of empowering them, giving them some acknowledgement, given the right to actually feel those emotions, being respected. It's a fundamental. Then if they are given the right, then imagine the growth this nation is going to have. And we as Pakistan we have history of empowered women, taking from Benazir Bhutto, Malala, Parveen Shakir, Muniba Mazari, Bilkis Bano, Aisha Farooq. Notice that these are all these women who are from all of different sectors of walks of industries with different backgrounds. So we as a nation have given, these are the women who have actually broken down this glass ceiling and actually broken through. So we have represented Pakistan out there. However, I would talk about the empowerment of women who are there who have a beautiful role as a daughter, as a wife, as a sister, as a mother. If you empower a mother, she's the first platform of education for a child. Imagine the respect she gets, imagine the love she gets, imagine the rights that she gets. What can she give back? An empowerment, woman empowerment has three dimensions. There's a micro level, there's a meso level, and then there's a macro level. And I would like to talk about how seeking help, and because there's so much of rise of this domestic violence, we as a nation we as women, as a man at a meso level, need to come together. I mean, macro levels, it's fine. It's a government, people would actually come and we can debate on that, go on and on. But at meso level, at a micro level, there are things that we can do. We can collaborate and as individuals can do. Firstly, there's so much of stigma attached to asking for help. There's a hesitance and there's so much of fear, which is very, very natural. But if we create platforms and raise awareness of life coaching, NLP practitioner programs, and about these, I'm an NLP master practitioner as well as hypnosis, because this is the reason why I chose this, to go further and further and establish my own coaching venture. I named it as Kintsugi. I'll talk about this in a minute, but coming back, how Pakistan can benefit so much for women empowerment coaching it's fundamental. I mean, it'll be amazing how if women come out and seek help and actually start and feeling the emotions, that getting to understand what is the safety space that they need, what is their role. I mean, why go through it alone when you can get help? And the first point of contact usually is the family and friends. And there's the common statements, oh, it's done, just compromise, oh, you can give some time more. I mean, I wouldn't even start to talk about how divorced women in our society have to suffer. I mean, there is so much of lack of support. So if we establish these platforms, I mean, it's not that it's not there, like Kashif Foundation and Arts and Saf, they're doing brilliant jobs. There's media, like there are great writers like Umaira Ahmed and Amna Mufti, who are trying to make an effort, but it's very cloudy. It's very cloudy, very noisy. So that's the thing that I would like to talk about, that if we as coaches build a platform where we can raise awareness on mental health and giving the support, that we're there, we can actually bring clarity in the life. We can actually support them with what improvement of opportunities they have. There are so many forms of domestic violence, and it's so sad that, women don't even, and there's so much lack of awareness in I'm talking about common household average women who do have some access to in media. I mean, we're learning, but we still don't know there are so many different forms of domestic violence. And we need to realize that, the fabric of the society cannot be made, as man and woman, they're two threads, they're weaved together. Then that's when the fabric will be, the quality of fabric will improve. So it can't be like one man, the man can just keep being successful and the woman just don't even get the basic rights. And I would like to quote here, it's something very, very, while I was doing some research on the statistics, and I also came across a quote, being nice should never be perceived as a weakness. It's a sign of courtesy, manners, grace, a woman's ability to make a home. It shouldn't be constructed as a weakness. And this was said by Benazir Bhutto. I wouldn't go into the political side, but look at how empowered and how much as a woman she broke those glass ceilings. And talking about, and this is being addressed to every female of our society, of our country. So these are the things that I want to raise more awareness about, how coaching can actually be so powerful, and it should reach out to every household in there. It is high time that we start looking at what we can do as an individual. We've spent enough time trying to expect from others, suspect from the government. Even the government has tried. I wouldn't say that there would be a lie that we would say that the government hasn't done anything. And then they, over the years, has been doing it, over the decades. There's 10% of the government there's a quota for 10% for women to be actually be placed in those positions in the government, and then we just have 5%. Why is it so? How we have stopped questioning why things are happening. We don't know why things are happening till we the women actually don't feel and don't start believing that they can be the change. The change cannot come from the outside. Change comes from within, and this is what coaching is about. It's about giving control to the and being supportive, and of course, another very, very strong factor about life coaching is that there is like a comfort zone, then there's the out of the comfort zone. There's an in-between zone, which is the stretch zone. Obviously, going from the comfort zone and going out of the comfort zone is, of course, very overwhelming, and there's so many difficult, usually negative emotions rise. So if those who ask help, and we have a platform of life coaching, I mean, this will be, they have support. They know there's someone by their side. It's like sitting in a car when learner's car, and you're letting yourself, I mean, being in control of the car, but you've just got to support someone sitting next to you, just guiding, go right, go left. And you don't even realize that how complicated situations are simplified. You gain clarity.
That's great. I guess that's very insight information, and such a lovely suggestions and thoughts. We can go hours and hours, but time does not permit us. So I would request you for your closing remarks.
Sure. About my closing remarks, I would like to give 3 important points. Is one, that parents, as parents can do, is that it is better to realize that a divorced daughter is better than a dead daughter. I mean, it's a very harsh comment and may stay straightforward, but then how important realizing the life of an individual. And secondly, life doesn't stop at a bad chapter. And this is something I would always say as a kintsugi art. We're running out of time, but then this is just briefly something I would say, that kintsugi is a Japanese art, and it is the art of broken. It's embracing the scars. And that's why I've named my own coaching venture as Kintsugi Coach, because it's about cherish those scars. That's what makes you beautiful. And by my closing would be a quote by Mahmood. She was quoted as saying, "Fear is just a line in your head. You choose what side of the line you want to be." So thank you very much.
That's great.